Most of the ills that our culture, our society suffers under these robber barons is, well, most of the robber barons have lots of bar card holding lawyers. You see, ladies and gentlemen, people talk about how much these Bitcoin fantasies are worth, and they always equate it into the term dollars. And then, of course, you go out and you buy you a new Ferrari or a new Donzi boat, or you buy you one of those Riva crafts, Riva's the real expensive Italian mahogany speedboats, or you go buy you a nice Gulfstream jet, or the new jets that Kristi Noem of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Mafia just got, and the jet that Kash Patel, the FBI director, flies around in, and they always are talking about how much all this costs in dollars. Well, first you got to understand what the fuck a dollar is supposed to be. If you don't understand what fucking dollars are actually supposed to be, you're brainwashed, indoctrinated, and you're operating in la la land. That's the way it is, folks. The dollar was patterned after the Spanish doubloon, the Spanish doubloon, also known as the pieces of 8. You go back and you look at the original coinage of the U.S. dollar. Well, it was nearly an ounce of almost pure silver. They had a little bit of tin into the original dollar, which was an ounce of silver, to make the coins rigid and durable. And then, of course, you had your gold coins and $20 and whatever. They had gold coins that were supposedly nearly an ounce of gold. And then, of course, you had some smaller gold coins down to about the size of a nickel, actually. And then the cent, the so-called penny. When they first started making the cents, they were an ounce of pure copper. So your money, the constitutional money that was originally minted, was known as specie. So the reason I'm ranting on about the dollar is people are having this big discussion about the SNAP benefits being cut off by Scrooge, Donald Drumpty, Scrooge. He cut off the SNAP, and apparently he cut off a lot of the WIC, and a lot of these welfare programs are going to be cut off because Drumpty and the, what do they call it, Project 2025 or Operation 2025, or they want to impose austerity measures, austerity, AUSTERI, austerity measures on the people, the citizens, the inhabitants of the United States of America, Incorporated. Now, who remembers when the scamdemic plandemic, the COVID massacre of warp speed, hit the people of the world? Who remembers all of that when they shut down all the businesses and they made you wear masks and on and on and on and on and on, right? And then they invented all these clot shots from the Department of Defense and the bioweapons programs of the United States government that invented the COVID-19. And what did Donald Trump do during warp speed? He cranked up the keystrokes. He keystroked along with the Congress, they keystroked huge amounts of money into the system by printing it up with computers and blah, blah, blah out of thin air. And they referred to it as 7 trillion. And then everybody knows that the Pentagon can't account for about 20 trillion, and then the Federal Reserve of the United States can't account for about 20 trillion Federal Reserve notes. The robber barons are financed by the lawyers and the bankster gangsters and the judges. Oh God, the judges and the federal agents. They use this magic secret computer system. Ask Elon Musk, he'll explain it. The secret magic computers, where they just create vast rivers of script. It's also known as shin plaster. Look up shin plaster. It'll give you a good idea. Look at the photographs of the shin plaster and ask yourself whether that looks like the reserve notes, the Federal Reserve notes that you got in your pocket, and the digital currency you got on your ATM card. Yeah, all your digital assets in your ATM accounts and your charge cards, and every time you use a card to pay at Walmart. Remember Walmart? They're in bed with the United States Department of Defense, CIA, and military like, holy shit, Walmart. The robber barons, Professor William K. Black, the robber barons, Patrick Lovell, and all your highly educated lawyers that you have on your program, your programming, Patrick Lovell. The new untouchables. What we need to first understand is how the robber barons stole all the real money and turned it into keystrokes on computers and paper, helicopter, script, shin plaster, notes. This is how it's all done. So when you start talking about the tax codes and tax collections and the dollars of Amazon and Facebook and BlackRock and State Street and Cap Trust and, every billionaire, so-called billionaire in the world, and you start talking about dollars, well, first you need to understand what the fuck a dollar is. And that goes double for old Donald Trump and Charlie Schumer and let's see, Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and AOC and Nancy Pelosi and let's see, Bernie Sanders. You need to explain to the American public about the bar card you've got in your pocket. Bernie Sanders, how you're an attorney. You're a member of the American Bar Association. The Bar Association, we high up on the food chain with the supreme attorneys of the supreme sophistries of the Supreme Court. All the lawyers from the law schools. All right, Professor William K. Black. So yeah, let's teach everybody about what a dollar is supposed to fucking be. I'm going to leave it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful day, and all the information and the links you need are posted below. And remember one thing. Beware of those bar-carded sons of bitches.